Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about radios. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. The inventor Guglielmo Marconi is widely considered the inventor of the radio. He is said to be the first person ever to transmit a wireless radio signal. But there's a persistent rumor that another eccentric genius beat him to the punch. What do you think? Could it be that the so-called father of radio isn't the one who actually got it all started? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is modulation. That's M-O-D-U-L-A-T-I-O-N. In the world of radio, modulation is the process of varying one or more properties of a periodic waveform called the carrier signal with a separate signal that contains the information we want to send, like music or a voice. Essentially, it's the language used to hitch a ride on an electromagnetic wave so that the receiver can understand what's being sent. Without modulation, a radio wave would just be a silent, steady hum with no information attached to it. The word comes from the Latin modulare, which means to measure off, regulate, or play an instrument. And this is fitting because engineers are essentially measuring and regulating the height or timing of the radio waves to create a specific pattern. Just as a musician modulates their voice to create different notes and emotions, a radio transmitter modulates a frequency to carry the sounds of your favorite podcast or song across hundreds of miles. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about radios. Number 1. Radio waves are electromagnetic waves just like visible light, but they vibrate at a frequency the human eye can't see. Radio waves are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning they're made of the same stuff as light coming from your lamp or the sun. The only difference is their wavelength. Radio waves have very long wavelengths and low frequencies, while visible light has much shorter wavelengths. Because these waves are so long, some are the size of a football field, they can pass through walls and obstacles that would completely block regular light. This means that we are constantly surrounded by invisible light carrying data, music, and conversations. If our eyes were tuned to see radio waves, the world would look like it was glowing with a million different colors and patterns overlapping each other. The real benefit to radio, though, is because the radio waves travel at the speed of light, a radio signal could basically circle the entire Earth in about 1/7 of a second, making communication nearly instantaneous. Number 2. The difference between AM and FM is all about whether you change the wave's height or its speed. AM stands for Amplitude Modulation, which works by varying the strength or height of the radio wave to send sound information. Because AM waves are longer and follow the curve of the Earth, they can travel incredible distances, especially at night when they bounce off the Earth's ionosphere. However, AM is very sensitive to electrical interference, which is why you hear static during a thunderstorm or when driving under power lines. FM stands for Frequency Modulation, which keeps the wave height constant but changes the speed or frequency of the wave to encode sound. This method is much more resistant to static, providing a high fidelity sound that's perfect for music and clear broadcasting. While FM sounds much better than AM, Its waves travel in straight lines and don't bounce off the atmosphere, which is why FM stations usually fade away once you drive more than 40 or 50 miles from the transmitter. Number 3. The Eiffel Tower was saved from being demolished because it proved to be a perfect radio antenna. When the Eiffel Tower was built for the 1889 World's Fair, it was only intended to stand for 20 years before being torn down for scrap metal. Many Parisians actually disliked the structure at first, calling it a giant iron candlestick that ruined the city's skyline. But as the 20-year deadline approached, the invention of the radio changed everything because the tower's immense height made it the ultimate location for a permanent transmitter. During World War I, the radio equipment on the Eiffel Tower intercepted critical enemy messages, which helped the French military organize a counterattack during the Battle of the Marne. Because the tower proved to be such a vital tool for national security and global communication, it ended up being the plan to deconstruct it that was permanently scrapped. Today, the tower still hosts dozens of antennas at its peak, continuing its legacy as a vital hub for French broadcasting. Number 4. Radios allow us to listen to the echoes of the beginning of the universe. If you have an old radio and you tune it to a frequency between stations, you'll hear a distinct fuzzy sound known as static. While some of that static comes from local electronic interference or lightning storms, about 1% of it is actually the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is the leftover energy and heat from the Big Bang that happened about 13.8 billion years ago. The scientists actually discovered this by accident in the 1960s when they used a giant radio antenna and couldn't get rid of a persistent background hum. They eventually realized they weren't hearing a malfunction, but rather the oldest sort of broadcast in existence. Every time you hear that fuzzy static on a radio, you're literally listening to the ancient vibrations of the universe expanding, proving that radio technology is a window into the deepest history of space. And our fifth and final fun fact for today: the first ever commercial radio broadcast didn't play music. It announced the results of a presidential election. On November 2nd, 1920, station KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, became the first licensed commercial radio station to hit the airwaves. They chose a very important night to debut, the night of the Harding-Cox presidential election. Before this, people had to wait until the next morning and read the newspaper to find out who won, but radio changed the speed of news forever. The broadcast was a massive success, even though there were only a few thousand people who had the equipment necessary to hear it. It sparked a radio craze across the United States, and within just 4 years, there were over 500 stations broadcasting across the country. This moment marked the transition of radio from a hobby for radio telegraphy enthusiasts into a mainstream medium that brought the entire world into people's living rooms. Now for some news you can use. If you ever find yourself in an emergency or out camping where there's no cell service, a hand crank emergency radio is one of the best tools you can own. These devices don't require batteries or a wall outlet. You simply turn a small handle to generate kinetic energy, which is stored in an internal capacitor to power the receiver. The reason this is a must-have hack is that radio waves, specifically AM and NOAA weather bands, travel much farther and are more reliable than cellular data in remote areas. Even just a few minutes of turning that crank can give you an hour of listening time, ensuring that you can stay informed about weather patterns or safety instructions in an emergency if the power grid goes down. It's a simple piece of old-school tech that remains life-savingly effective even today. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, could someone else have really been transmitting radio signals before Guglielmo Marconi, the so-called father of radio? Well, that's a fact. While Marconi is famous for the first transatlantic transmission, the legendary Nikola Tesla actually demonstrated wireless radio transmission all the way back in 1893, 2 years before Marconi's first successful test. Tesla had plans for the Wardenclyffe Tower in New York to provide wireless power and communication to the entire world. In 1943, the U.S. Supreme Court actually overturned Marconi's radio patents, recognizing Tesla as the original inventor of the fundamental radio technologies we use today. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about radios with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.